All right, September 1st. Welcome back, everybody. It's been kind of a whirlwind week here. I just got back in from Vegas yesterday evening, and wow, what a conference that was. I'm usually pretty good at drinking from a fire hose, but it pretty much flushed my gills. It was 3 days of just nonstop, full bore, holy shit. I have seen the future and I'm a believer. So one of the things I've been really wanting to play with lately is scaling into paid ads, not only for myself, but to offer that up for clients. And I got to tell you, this is one of those things where it's not for the faint of heart and it's not for small businesses. It's like you got to have an ad budget and you got to have some holding power, because it's not like you can just turn this stuff on and off like a faucet, like it's been portrayed in the past. And it was like that at one point. When I first, played with pay-per-click and know a lot of guys that were doing that, you could literally turn it on and off like a faucet. So, Jeff, was that me? Sound problems? How's that? Is that better?
Loud and clear.
Okay, awesome. So anyway, what I was saying was, pay-per-click at one point in time was you could literally turn it on and off like a faucet. It's not so much that way nowadays because of all the stuff that's wrapped around it. Pay-per-click has moved into the AI, just like everything else, just like SEO, just like, everything is moving that way. Things are data driven. And if you're not on board with that, it can be really challenging, because as far as data driven stuff, it takes the AI a while to figure things out. So that can, that could pretty much be an issue if you don't have the budget to hold out until that AI figures out how to run your stuff. So that is something to be aware of. It's a big player's game. It's awesome though. Holy shit. The stuff that I saw, the speakers that have been doing this for a while and have, they've been doing this as long as I've been doing SEO. Well, maybe not quite, but you get the point. This is what they live and breathe. They could tell you everything about paid ads, just like I could about organic traffic and SEO. So it was a real eye opener. But like I said, having seen the future is freaking awesome. But there's some barriers to it. And the biggest one probably is budget. That's like I said, it's not made for small accounts. I'm going to probably wind up doing a call with our resellers and do a little pep talk promo with them about maybe staging up your game, looking for larger customers, because there's a lot of money that could be made here. And the service it's freaking phenomenal. I mean, the stuff that you can do with this is unreal. To give you an idea, one of the things that's available in Performance Max, this isn't necessarily so much, it's data driven for sure. It's not so much AI driven. It's more based on hunting. You're not fishing, you're hunting. So like, I'll give you a perfect example, and I'm probably going to wind up doing this unless one of you beats me to it and you're happy to it. You're welcome to it rather. But I make a commission on Kartra. When I sell Kartra as an affiliate, I make a $40 a month commission. That's pretty good. That's more than I make on my call here with people. I make 29 bucks here. I make 40 bucks when I refer Kartra. And as you know, when somebody puts something like Kartra into their business, it becomes a forever thing. It really does. I mean, I can't imagine running my business without Kartra. If you took Kartra away from me today, I would gasp. I would like be going, I'd be in a fire drill with what am I going to replace this with? Seriously. Not that it would kill me. I've got all my assets. I could just load it into something else, but now I'd have to learn a different program. Most people don't ever want to do that in their life if they don't have to. Once something is up and running in their business and it's scalable and it's automatic and everything is running smoothly, they don't want to upset the apple cart. So when you connect to something that's going to pay you $40 a month forever, as long as somebody's running that business, that's a pretty damn good deal, right? And it's scalable. What if you threw 10 people at them? That's $400 a month. You know, what if you threw 100 people at them? You know, the numbers, when you start adding zeros onto things, numbers get really exciting. And here's the thing, it's an affiliate offer. You don't have to do anything other than connect the dot the first time. That's it. What if you ran 1,000 of them? You know, $40 a month, that's $40,000 a month. Is there anyone here that wouldn't be really happy about an extra $40,000 a month? Pretty good raise, you know? And
yeah, sign me up.
You might be thinking, well, that's impossible. How would I get 1,000 people? Well, I'm about to tell you. It's really easy. You take Performance Max, that's Google's new product. And there's a whole bunch of levers in here to pull to do things. Some of it is based on AI. Some of it is based on hunting. Like I was talking about, you can literally go into the fields in here and you can identify who you want to target. For instance, and like I said, it's data driven. As you know, from many things I've said in the past, Google has all the data about every user online. They know every place you've been. They know every place you go. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but they know everything about you. But for this is a really easy way to take that data and hunt with it. So if I wanted to sell Kartra, I know there's a shitload of people that are very frustrated with ClickFunnels, as I was. That's why I went to Kartra. I had ClickFunnels. I paid for ClickFunnels for probably 3 years. Never did a thing, never made a dime with it. I did the same thing with Infusionsoft, and I probably paid them over a period of 5 years. I paid them probably over $10,000 in a 5-year period with a tremendous amount of frustration and never got anywhere, never made a dime. So there's 2 companies right now that I know, if I was confused over that shit, who else is going to be, right? Probably a lot of people. So what if I went into Performance Max and I said, I want to build an audience for everyone that has ever actually logged in to a ClickFunnels account. That tells me they're a paid user. I want people that have logged into Infusionsoft. And Google knows everyone that has ever logged into either one of those domains. So all you have to do is put the login domain, the domain and the login address, or if you just want the domain, if you want anyone that's ever even gone to a ClickFunnels site. I would not do that though, because ClickFunnels domain gets all the users. You don't want to focus on them. You only want the people that have actually logged in. You want the people that are paying. So you identify those, you create that as a core group to advertise to, and now you send them the Kartra offer. Send them a funnel, send them some free training. Tell them how frustrated you were with ClickFunnels, how frustrated you were with Infusionsoft. Tell them that story, the story they're probably living right now, and show them the light of the road that you followed out of that living hell to take you to the promised land. That would be a pretty good funnel. You want to know how to get 1,000 people paying you $40 a month? There it is. That's just one example. That opens up to the entire world. Like, let's say if you were a realtor, you know, Linda just popped on here. She was actually at the conference, and I know the bells were the bells were going off for her, definitely. You know, what if you know, she targets real estate. What if you went and you targeted a real estate login?
They're still ringing, John.
Oh yeah, I bet. And they're gonna be ringing louder once this stuff really sets in and you start using it.
I'm telling you.
But you know, what if you went to like a Keller Williams? How would you like to get all their agents, everyone that's ever logged into their account?
Oh yeah.
Pretty damn exciting shit. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. This is a way, Google Performance Max is a way for you to tap in. If you know who you're looking for, you can tap right in and mainline their big data sources. And they're the biggest data sources in the world. The other thing that's really exciting about Performance Max and Google is when you think of Google, you probably think of pay-per-click or organic search. That's somebody that's literally going to the search box and typing in something, and they're in flow. It's a really, really good lead. But what you're probably not thinking about is you're probably not thinking about what the AI could do for you. Remember, I talk about Google's AI. The AI is trying to anticipate what you want and what you're going to do by what you've done in the past. And they have a tremendous amount of data on this. So if they can figure out who your ideal customer is, and again, you have to give the AI, if you want the AI to really work for you, and it's incredibly powerful. I mean, the example I gave you with, you know, targeting Kartra users or ClickFunnels users to pull them over to Kartra, that's a very specific pinpointed hunting event that could be used in Performance Max. But now I'm talking about taking a step back and using the whole enchilada. That was basically using a salad fork to eat your dinner. Now I'm talking about using a pitchfork and a bale of hay to feed yourself. So using their big data sources, what you could do is you can let it figure out. Once it finds out like what you want to do, if you want to make a sale and you run it long enough that it can see who's buying your product, it can take those users and it can look at their online profile and see exactly what sites they went to before they purchased your product. And they can go out to the world, the absolute everyone that walks the face of the planet that's ever been on a computer, and they can see anyone that has walked that same path. Doesn't mean that they're in market right now searching for you, but it means they probably will, and you're going to be able to find them before they do. It's like you can wake them up. You can do that reticular activation thing. You know, now they know it, they're looking for it. And Google is going to put you in front of them, not only in the search, not only in the pay-per-click. That's just a tiny fraction on the front end that you all see. What you don't see is what's in the back end. The back end is Gmail. You know how many Gmail accounts are on the planet? A gazillion of them. They can advertise right in there directly to those users in their Gmail account. Banners, pinpointed ads, email, even email ads right to them inside their Gmail account. When they go on other advertisers' sites or sites that with display ads, they'll see them there. Performance Max actually creates and writes your ads for you based on its AI, based on what people have looked at in the past. It copies all that, it brings it forward and gives it to you. It can also, remember, Google's other little property is YouTube. This frickin' thing can create YouTube videos, knowing how to interact with your ideal customer
Mm-hmm.
and run them for you.
That blew my mind, John, and seeing it demonstrated so simply. You know,
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt your flow, but how easy do you think this will be to implement?
I don't think it's going to be easy at all to implement, unfortunately.
That's what I thought too, because the guy that presented it, which was genius times 10 Mensa,
Yeah.
spoken in 500 words a minute, I think. And it'll take me a while to dissect what he actually said and how to do it, but he made it look so easy, kind of like what you do, John, with it.
Yeah, that's the thing about him. He operates at a very high level, just like I do in the SEO world. I mean, I could speak at his level on SEO all day long.
Right.
But to have somebody like, to have somebody like me that is in that arena that can do that for you, that's a huge value. And like you said, yeah, he speaks very fast. He is definitely in the savant range. That guy is out on the spectrum somewhere. So
I think he fell off the limb.
The cool thing about him, though, is he can communicate. He's got the same ability as I do, is to be able to communicate that. That's very rare. Usually you get a guy like that and he sits in a black hole and they feed him, under the door.
That would have been the third speaker on second day.
Yeah. But that guy, he was really something. And like you, I'm going to once I get the videos next week, normally when I run a video, I turn it on 1.75 and I take the information in rapidly. I'm going to have to run it 0.5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to slow his ass down so I can get it all.
Yep.
But yeah, he was absolutely phenomenal. And like, to your point of how easy is it going to be to set up? Okay, so it's just like ACT. There's nothing hard about it. There's nothing difficult about it, but the implementation can be extremely time consuming, and getting it right is going to be the issue. It's like anybody can go in, they can run through ACT real quick and they can throw a funnel together. But is it going to be right? Are they going to make sure that they go through and they get every little piece of it right? Like I've seen so many people, they'll go through and they say, oh, I have a big idea. And I look at it and I say, where's the promise? It's not a big idea without a promise. Where's the unique mechanism? It's not a big idea without a unique mechanism. And what's the intellectually interesting aspect of it? Those are the three pieces of a big idea. So they look at it, they don't really absorb it, they don't really process it, and then they throw something out and they say it's a big idea. Not to say that's bad, because anything you do to move forward is good. Make a mistake. I mean, you are not going to get anywhere unless you make a mistake. So I encourage you, throw the shittiest big idea you can find at me and let's start somewhere. Right?
Let's go, John. Let's go.
I mean, seriously, you have to start somewhere. But it's the same thing here. Yeah, you could get in there and you could open up a Performance Max account right now. The thing here is, when you create a big idea, it's not really costing you any money. In Performance Max, you're gonna have to throw some money at that thing for it to really do something for you. And if your campaign is not right, let me just stop right there and go back to something that every one of those speakers on Perry's stage reiterated. And I've said this, but I want to make sure you guys get this. You do not move into traffic until your creation is proper. And you cannot get your creation proper without analysis. Every one of these speakers went into analysis. They said, you have to know who you're selling to. You have to know why they want to buy it. And you have to be able to convey what their life is going to look like after they have the desired outcome. That one piece, the way that was said across all those speakers, is something I don't think I've conveyed properly. I've always talked about, you need to know what they want, why they want it, what it's going to do for them. But I was missing that one piece. What is their life going to look like once they have it? So let's just layer that in. Let's just layer that on top of everything that I have taught you to this point and throw that in. It will help you write copy. It will help you communicate. It will help you get them to want it. We talk about create demand and desire. If they can see, if you're telling them what their life is going to look like after this is done, after they have taken advantage of what you have to offer, what do you think that's going to do? They're going to want it more. It's going to create demand and desire. I've talked about 50 different ways to do that as you walk them through your funnels, but that's just another one, very powerful one to layer on top. But that is one thing every one of the speakers was highly consistent upon, including Perry. And I know you guys, if anybody that's listened to Perry for 5 minutes, you'll know he talks about conversion. If you're not converting, if you don't have a converting offer, you are not ready for any kind of traffic. So traffic without a converting offer is just going to be expensive. And you don't want anything expensive. When you're talking about traffic, we're talking about advertising. When we're talking about advertising, we're not talking about spending money. We're talking about investing in purchasing assets, which are customers. I don't want you guys to confuse this with a lot of speakers that when they use the word invest, they're telling you you need to give them money to learn something. That's not what I'm talking about here. Because most people that do that, it's not an investment. It's a change of money from your hands to theirs. They know you're never going to do anything with it. And most of them don't care. I'm talking about a real, true investment in yourself in buying customers. That's what traffic is. That's the true way to scale your business. So, is that important? Hell yeah, it is. That's, I talk about ACT being probably the most valuable skill you're ever going to learn. And that's the T, that's the end piece of it. Being able to have something that you can put $1 into the end of and it drops out $1.25. Or you put $1 in the end and it drops out a $5 bill. Whatever the math works out to. Keep in mind though, sometimes it doesn't look that way. Sometimes you'll drop $1 in and only 50 cents comes out. And the short-sighted person is going to say, ooh, I can't do that again, right? They're going to say that was a bad deal. But what if I told you the 50 cents just dropped out this month? And another 50 cents is going to drop out next month. Now you're even in 2 months. And the next month, another 50 cents is going to drop out. Now, those are pretty shitty numbers, right? But within 90 days, you just 50%ed your money.
But isn't that an opportunity to fix the content? If you're not getting the drive, if you're not getting the conversion, maybe it's the hook, it's this. I look at it as testing until you get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. But the whole point of that is if you just had that crappy scenario, if you put $1 in and you just get 50 cents out and you're going to get 50 cents for 3 months, you have just made a 50% profit in 90 days. How many times would you want to do that? But if you looked at your first month's result and you didn't know your numbers, you didn't know your lifetime value of your customer. My lifetime value of a customer is massive. My lifetime value of a customer could be in the thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, what if I get someone on Kartra? Say somebody buys one of my products and then they learn, hey, this guy teaches Kartra. I'm going to take his Kartra training. And then they buy Kartra. That's $400 a month. That's almost $5,000 a year. I'm sorry, it's almost $500 a year. $40 a month. That's, $480. So that's almost $500 a year for something I dropped $1 in the front of the machine to get. How many years will they have it? Probably as long as they're in business. And if they sell the business, they're probably going to sell the Kartra account along with it. As long as that business is alive, I'll be getting $40 a month out of that initial investment. So realistically, how much do you think I would be willing to pay or invest in a lifetime value customer like that? You think I might go $400 or $500 in to get that? Hell yeah. Most people would say, God, I'm not going to throw $500 out on the table to make 50 cents. Well, it's not 50 cents. That's just your first acquisition. What it is a customer. How much you can get from that customer over the lifetime of the customer, that's up to you. That is entirely up to you. Another thing that Perry talked about, and he does this in his mastermind group, he threw a lot of nuggets at us outside of the traffic stuff. He was showing how he does private consultation with businesses, how he can actually get a 10-fold in a business in a single year. Almost any business, he doesn't guarantee it, but he says almost any business I can 10-fold in a single year. And he showed 5 different key components that he looks at in the business. And he said, all you have to do is just double each one, just make 2. He said, if they have 1 offer, make 2 offers. If they have 1 avatar, create another avatar. If they have a different market segment, create another one. You know, if they have only 1 form of traffic, get another one. Just you already know how to do it because you already did it. So just make another one. That's going to 10 times your revenue in a single year if you just do that. You already know how to do it, probably already done it. Just do it again. You want 10 times the results? Now, if you only do 1 of those, you're not going to get 10 times, but you'll probably get 10 or 20%. You know, you might get, you might get, double. You're not going to get 10 times. So does that make sense? That's the way to scale a business. You take what's working and you start doubling down on it. You start creating more assets, more traffic sources, more offers, more products. It doesn't have to even be your product. You can use someone else like Kartra. I used a perfect example there. I do literally nothing other than connect the dot to say, hey, you need this. This can really help your business. Let me show you how it works. Let me help you implement it. I made a video to show you how to set it up. That's all I have to do. One time, I can run 1 million people through that, get 1,000 people to drop out the other end, and that's 40 grand a month for me, right? It's not a hard funnel. I don't know why I'm even here. I should be doing that. but really, if you look at your business, we talk about the SWOT thing, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And, Jim knows that one like the back of his hand. He does this with his clients all day long. You're looking at what are your strengths and opportunities, and how many of those opportunities are in front of you that you're not taking advantage of. How many new opportunities will you have opening up another traffic source like Performance Max? It's mind-blowing. It's like, I'm going to tell you right now, this time next year, any of us that are at the same level we are today, it's because you want to be. Not because you don't know how to get there, and not because you don't have the tools in front of you. I'm going to put that out as a promise. If you're still where you are now, it's just because you want to be there. And that's okay. There's no shame in that. There's a lot of people that are doing just fine, and they love the process. They love the brainstorming. They love to be with other like-minded people. and they just don't have the aspiration to do it themselves. I got to tell you, I'm one of them. I could be doing 100-fold what I do. I've got the skills. I've got the opportunities. They're all laying right in front of me. I'm just too freaking lazy, and I'm okay. You know, it's not like, you know, when I started out in business, I was hungry. I was aggressive, and I would do a lot of shit then that I wouldn't do today. You know, it's necessity. You know, you need to eat, you need to keep a roof over your head, you need to do all that stuff. You get married, you need to keep them happy. You know, there's a lot of stuff that you need to do, and then you get good at it and you get complacent, and you know, then you're able then to be a little lazier, and that's just where I'm at. You know, it's not because I'm not 10 or 100-fold down the road because I don't have access to opportunities and I don't have a skill set. That's not my problem. I'm just a little too complacent and a little too lazy, and I'm perfectly fine. So wherever you are, I don't want anybody to feel bad about where they are. Just know why you're there and be happy with it. Right? So, but do know that it is your own will that's going to do that. It's, you know, nobody's going to decide for you what your future is going to look like other than you. I'm going to do my damnedest to give you skills and opportunities to do whatever you want to do, but it's all on you to take advantage of it, to take it, run with it, take yourself wherever you want to go. The vehicle's sitting right in front of you. So pretty cool stuff. What do you think, Jim?
I'm excited to be here today, especially after you picking up new things. I was wondering if you could go through like the step-by-step model. You said you were missing one thing, but can you just review that? You know, attention grabbing headline.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So in my process, you have grab attention. That's big idea, pure and simple. And then you have create, demand, and desire. So that was the piece that I was missing. It was in demand and desire. I talk about when you create demand and desire, there's the ways that I know to do it best is to show someone how they're going to get what they want. You know, when you have their timeline, I talk about their timeline. And if you put all the steps on their timeline that they're going to have to take to get what they want, and obviously you meld your product right into the middle of that. So they're going to have to use it to make the journey easier. That's what you're doing. You're showing them, hey, here's how to get there. Here's the way my product works. Here's how it's going to get you there faster, cheaper, quicker. It's going to get you to what you want sooner. That's how you create demand and desire. The piece I was missing on the end of it was painting the picture out of what their life is going to look like when they get there. That was kind of like, it just literally smacked me in the forehead like, oh my God, I'm missing a massive piece there. Not to say without that my process wouldn't have worked, because it's already working really well. But that's an example of how to take something that's working really good and just accelerate it, just make it 10 times more powerful.
But John, isn't that what you're doing in ACT when you're using the example of the diet pill? Nobody cares about a diet pill. They fully expect it to do something, but you're using trigger words. One is imagine. Imagine the heads turning as you walk into the room. Are you talking about doing more of that?
Yeah, see what that is, that's a perfect example of how I eliminate an objection. So when I eliminate an objection, you do a claim that's contrary to their belief. You do 2 proof points that internally changes it in their mind from their belief is wrong. It changes what you're saying about their belief into a fact. So if they believe one thing, like let's say they believe they just can't do it, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Let's just say they can't do it. They can't afford to buy a house. They can't lose weight. They've tried it before. Exercise doesn't work. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, they internally have a belief that says they can't do it. They've tried it before and it doesn't work for them. That's their belief internally. And you cannot sell someone something if they don't believe it's going to work. Not going to happen. I'll tell you right now, you'll talk till you're blue in the face. If you do not change that belief, you are not going to sell to that person. So Benjamin Franklin came up with this brilliant way to change a belief. He says you make a contrary claim to the belief, 100% opposite, polar opposite. So the polar opposite to that claim would be, you actually can do this. Now, if you believe you can't, I'm just telling you can, that's going to go off your back like water off a duck. It's just a claim, worthless. But I immediately attach it to 2 proof points, and now it's no longer a claim, it's a fact. Now, very few sane people will argue a fact because they don't want to look stupid. And the key word in that sentence was sane. Any sane person. If you're talking to an insane person, do yourself a favor and just walk away. It ain't going to end well. If you're talking to someone that's irrational, either just do not ever talk to them again or wait till they're in a rational state before you pick up the conversation again, because you're just going to waste your time and your breath. I only have so many breaths left in me. I only have so much time left in me. I am not going to spend a minute of it arguing with an insane person. I value my life, my time, my day, my minute more than that. So you've changed this to a fact now. It's no longer just a claim, it's a fact. So now you got the person on the other end that you just swapped their belief. They're thinking, oh, yeah, maybe I can do it. And then you attach it to the benefit, the thing that they want, the thing they want their life to look like after the fact. And you 3-dimensionalize it. And this is where that was a perfect point you pulled out of there, was the way I 3-dimensionalize the benefit. You say it in a way they can hear it, see it, and feel it. And that is exactly what all those speakers were talking about. That's exactly what Perry's talking about when he talks about show it to them, let them see what their life is going to be like once they've already got it. So that piece, I actually had it in there, but I wasn't bringing it up to the front like it really is meant to be. I was hiding it inside of the objection, getting rid of the objection, eliminating the objection. So it was there, but it's an incredibly powerful thing that you could use not only there, you could use it all over your funnel. It's the way that you can use that, when you're talking about the timeline, you're talking about their desired outcome. Use that 3-dimensionaling to show them what their life is going to look like. That's actually, all these guys that speak on stages, they tell you what to do, but they don't tell you how to do it. I'm telling you how to do it. So when it comes time to paint the picture of what their life is going to look like, that's how you do it. You say it 3 different ways so they can hear it, which is just simply saying it. You say it so they can see it and so they can feel it. And the way that you do that, the see, if you want them to see something, you use a trigger word of remember. If you throw out remember, they're automatically going to be accessing that part of their brain where they're going to be digging in the archives looking for something. They've already seen what you're talking about. Maybe not in themselves, but they've seen a picture of what they want. If they're looking for weight loss, they've probably seen themselves in the mirror when they were 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds lighter. So they've seen the image. It's there. For you to bring it forward, for them to see it, all you have to do is say, remember, and then tell them what they're looking for. It's already there. You can access it. It's like reverse mind reading. You're telling their mind what to read, and it will do it on command, just like freaking magic. The next thing, if you want them to actually feel the result, you're going to have to take them to a different part of the brain. You have to take them to their creative part of the brain where they can imagine things. And that is the exact word that you use. Imagine. Imagine what you're going to look like. Imagine how you're going to feel when you walk into the room and all the heads turn and they see how great you look because you lost that weight that just 10 seconds ago I told you could do, you didn't think you could, and now you're feeling the result of it, right? I wouldn't say it that way. I'm saying it that way to you so you know what the hell I'm doing here. But I got to tell you, it is powerful as anything you're going to ever possess in your life. That skill right there. So pretty cool shit.
Good stuff.
And then, you know, as far as going down the rest of the phase, so we've got big idea, grab attention, create demand and desire, eliminate the objections, final piece is make the offer. And if you've done the first three really good, your offer can be pretty shitty and still work. You got to have something to offer. You could just say, hey, here it is. This is how much it is. And it will probably still work. But why not make a really good offer? You know, Perry has seminars just about making offers. And, you know, like I talked about, just doubling something, you could take all the pieces to your offer and just double how good they are. You know, there's a lot of components to an offer. And if you go through ACT, I go through each and every one of them. All the components, there's I can't even remember them all off the top of my head. I'd have to look at the list. I mean, if you threw one out, I could go deep on each and every one of them. But, you know, it's time in my life where I don't remember what I ate for breakfast. I got all the stuff from the past in there, though. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Just for fun, something we both do is website design. Can we use that as an example of creating the message?
Absolutely. I mean, once you get your messaging down, it should flow through all of your assets, your website included. And
what I'm talking about is offering a website service.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, you could absolutely do that, because if you think about it, what's the first objection someone's going to have? I already have a website.
I have a website, or it's too expensive.
Exactly. So your claim to that is, I know you probably already have a website, but it's probably not working. And you just show them an example of, you know, if your website's not selling at least $10,000 a month, it's not the right website. Right? What picture did you just paint with that accusation? They're immediately going to go, oh, well, no, mine doesn't sell shit. Oh, shit, he's right. I have the wrong website. And then you throw out the proof points. You might not even need the proof points. He might be smart enough to figure it out just on his own.
Guilty as charged. If they think they're losing $10,000 or an opportunity to be bringing that in,
yeah,
it's going to be a WTF moment.
Yeah, in the way you bring it to them, it's magical in the way you fabricate that scenario of the way you bring it to them. It's just like the way I sold SEO. I let them discover their own problem. I just let them figure it out on their own. I gave them enough of the picture that they could fill in the rest. And I didn't have to, you know, in this case, you're really coming out and you're telling them, hey, you're missing the boat. You're doing something wrong here. I never did that with SEO. I let them figure it out. But here, I think you could be a little more direct, because you're going to be right in every step of the way here. No way around it. And then proof points, you could say, hey, you know, I took this client, I redid their website. Now they're selling stuff every day. Before, they might have sold one thing a month. And this guy's probably thinking, God, I haven't sold anything this year. You know, realistically, how many people have sold something off their website in the last year?
He's probably thinking, you mean you can sell something on a website?
Yeah. I mean, seriously, how many?
Not that I'm projecting or anything.
How much stuff has most people sold on their website in the last year? I bet you if you talk to 100 people, you'd be lucky to find one.
Mhm.
Seriously, that's the world we live in. People have been sold a bill of goods. They've been in creation mode without analysis, and it doesn't work. I can prove it all freaking day long. And that's a claim. That's a proof point. You know, you can take the proof point back to Tony Robbins. You can take it back to Forbes magazine. Forbes magazine says 80-something% of businesses are going to fail in 18 months. And they list the reasons why. And I got to tell you, one of their reasons was not knowing your market. Right? You know what the second reason was? Not being able to communicate what the value of what you have to that market. And the third reason, I think they had 4 or 5 reasons, but one of the reasons was they weren't bringing that message to the market. What does that spell? ACT. That's not me saying it. That's Forbes magazine saying it. So when I make the claim that you need ACT, that's my proof point. That's proof point number 1. My second proof point is, you know what Tony Robbins says? He says, if you're willing to stretch it out long enough, 96% of you are going to fail, given 10 years. If you don't get those 3 things right, and you continue, you can sustain that business. You can continue to pour cash into it for 10 years, and then 96% of you are going to be done. I mean, how painful does that feel? You know, and then what's the benefit? What's the benefit of getting ACT right? You're in the 4%. The 4% that own the world and can have anything they want. And then I 3-dimensionalize that. And you guys have probably seen how I do that in the webinars. I literally show a picture of a sexy woman's leg getting out of the passenger door of a really fancy car. What does that say? Who's driving the car? Who's he got sitting next to him? Right? I'm saying a lot in that visual. And then,
I don't know, John, today that might be man or woman driving that car.
You are absolutely correct. But the other thing in the visual image is they're pulling up to their private jet to get in, right? And there's a concierge standing there waiting for their arrival. It's the 4%. Where do you want to be? You want ACT to take you to the 4%, or do you want to struggle for 10 years and throw in the towel and be broken? It's time to make a decision, people. That's what I'm saying in my close. That's how I'm 3-dimensionalizing my benefit. So it's damn powerful too. This stuff is incredibly powerful, and it works on everything. I don't care what you're selling. I don't care who you're selling it to. Okay, let me change that. No sane person is going to want to struggle for 10 years before they're just eaten up to the point of no return and they give in and they fail. You know, I've said this many times, fail quickly. If you're going to fail, you're all going to fail. Let's get it out of the way real fast and get on to something else. I can't even count. I don't have enough fingers and toes to count the times that I've failed. I've usually pointed out to you every time I do it. I do it pretty regularly. I've pointed out at least a dozen times in the last 6 months on these calls. When I do something, I'm like, here's why I failed. It usually comes down to I was lazy. Can't really change. Well, I'm not going to say I can't change that. I don't want to change that. I like being lazy. So anyway, it's the 4 steps. I mean, ACT is 3 things, but the funnel really is a 4-step process in creating a funnel. And I cannot stress enough the value of that skill. Even if you don't have anything to sell, even if you don't want to sell anything, even if you don't want to create anything, Maybe you just want to provide services for others. That skill is incredibly valuable. You know, I know copywriters that will charge $30,000 to write a sales sequence. And they're good and it works. And it's because they follow the system. You know, they're not necessarily saying they've been through ACT, but I'm telling you, they're following the system. Just like all the ad agencies for the last 100 years have been following that system, whether they called it ACT or not. I just call it ACT so you've got something you can literally grab onto and consume, because you can't consume from their fire hose. They're not telling you everything you need to know. You can see the results, you can see what went in, you can see it from 30,000 feet, but you're not going to be able to do it. Not without all the pieces. Hopefully that's my hope, that I've given you all the pieces so you can actually do that. That's why I created ACT. I just took what was already there, pulled it apart, shredded it, and did my best to my ability to tell you what each one was and how to reproduce them for yourself with little mini recipes, formulas, whatever you want to call them.
So I think maybe a light bulb is going off, because sharpen the saw popped in my head. And so that can be the big idea. So what I've seen time and time again, if I'm doing search engine optimization for a client, they may have had 3 different people do SEO for them, and they're not ranked on the first page of Google.
Yeah.
I spend more time doing the keyword research up front, sharpening the saw, looking for those chinks in the armor where it's lower competition, good traffic, good commercialization value. And then the actual SEO work, it doesn't take that much time and that much effort.
Yeah.
And you get the results. And the same thing with ACT, doing the analysis. And, you know, it's not sexy, it's not exciting to do the analysis, but it makes the traffic part work. And so many people are focusing on traffic, and then they have crappy conversion.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned a couple of interesting words there, like the saw.
Right.
You use saw, I use sword.
Ah.
So you have to tune what you're talking about into who you're talking to. If you're talking to a carpenter or a worker, somebody that works physical labor with their hands, saw is awesome. They get it. They'll go, yeah, that's going to make my job easier. But if you're not talking to a physical labor worker, if you're talking to somebody that is like really tuned into the 4% club, because a carpenter is not thinking 4%. Carpenter's just thinking have a good lifestyle. He's thinking make a good living, make an honest day's work and an honest day's pay.
They want a nice house, an RV, a boat.
Yeah, they want a vacation here and there.
Yeah.
But if you're talking to the 4%er, they want to be a samurai. So they use a sword.
Okay.
Again,
Yeah, that's interesting, because I said sharpen the saw, and I think we all know where that came from, but really what I was picturing in my head was sharpen the axe. So that's interesting.
Yeah, if you're talking to a lumberjack.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so every word's important.
Every word. Yeah, you have to engineer everything, every step of the way. That all comes from analysis. I know damn well that from the people I've talked to, they don't want to be a carpenter. They want to be a samurai. You know, so samurais don't use saws.
No, maybe on their time off.
Unless you're in a horror film.
That's a whole nother angle.
But seriously,
the chainsaw.
Yeah, chainsaw was good.
But seriously, pick your words really carefully. Pick your words based on your analysis. It's not what comes out of you. You got to get what's in you out of you. You have to get into their heads. You have to really, when I'm talking about analysis and research, you're figuring out who this person is so you can talk to them. That's what creating an avatar is all about. That's why, like in my avatar creation sheet, there is a ton of questions in there. Probably half of them won't be relevant to most anybody, but there's some that are. I put them all in there, so it's like a brainstorming process. You're going to find stuff that your avatar is important to your avatar that's not in my avatar sheet. My avatar sheet is merely a guide. It's just a brainstorming guide. It's not all encompassing. It's not meant to be. There couldn't be one. It'd be 1,000 pages long and no one would even look at it. Right? It's just meant to be a guide to get you into the thought process of, my God, what is this person like? What's important to them? What have they been through? What do I need to know to sympathize with them? I need to walk next to them in their shoes with them so we can talk. We can have a meaningful conversation. We can bond. We can create a relationship. They can know, like, and trust me. And I can help them. I can help them get what they want. That's the key thing. If you're in this to help them get what they want, you're going to be successful. All you have to do is figure out how to communicate it to them. So what do you have to do first? Because communication's in C. First, you have to do the analysis. You have to know exactly what they're feeling, what they're seeing, what they're hearing. You need to know who they are. I mean, it's an art that is wrapped in science. I can give you the science all day long. It's the art piece that is what you're going to have to mend into it. And if you merge the art to the science, now you've got magic. That's all there is to it. This is pure magic. But as you know, the magician walks away and no one knows how he did it. That's the skill set I'm talking about. You know, like Jay is on here. Jay does NLP. That is, you know, and I meant to tell you this, Jay. One of the women that came up on stage, she was a beautiful woman. She was a phenomenal presenter. She actually had a decent presentation too. Most of these speakers were not presenters. Their PowerPoint sucked. I mean, absolutely sucked. The stuff they were given was pure gold, but they did not know how to convey it. But this one woman, she came up, she was dressed to the T, she was looking good, good PowerPoint, great information, but her NLP sucked. She was setting positive and negative anchors on the stage beautifully. I mean, she walked right out and boom.
Nice.
She dropped the positive anchor and then she went over here and boom, she dropped the negative anchor. But then she was going to the wrong spots on the stage during the presentation. I'm like, oh,
Because she got caught up with what she was saying.
I'm like,
You know, John, I asked Kat if she had done that deliberately, if she was using NLP, and she said, NL what? So she wasn't even aware of what she was doing, but yeah, how much more powerful that presentation could have been.
That's a perfect statement. She didn't know what she was doing.
Exactly true.
And again, that's part of sharpening your sword. If you're going to do stage presentations, that's a way you can sharpen your sword with NLP. I did, you know, I wish I would have gone through Jay, because I think Jay is a little better at it than the person I went through.
Thank you. You have another chance. We're working on a new program.
At the time, I didn't
why I'm
know.
here.
Volunteers want to test it?
Do this.
At the time, I didn't know Jay, and the person I knew was the only one I knew in front of me, so I went with that. And I got to tell you, it worked really well. It cost a lot of money, but it was one of those things where this is one of the only times in my professional career that I made an investment in myself that actually paid off. You know, usually you buy the shit and, you know, it doesn't work, or you don't use it or whatever. But when I spent the money, I spent, you know, and I'm not going to say it's a lot of money. It was a lot for me at the time because I wasn't really used to the whole, any part of it. I didn't really even get it. But I spent 15 grand to prepare myself for a presentation that I didn't know if I was going to sell anything at. I mean, there was a high opportunity, a high likelihood if I knew what I was doing and I could actually perform. So that's what I paid. I paid 15 grand to be trained as a performer. And
John, what was your ROI on that?
I sold $174,000 off the stage in
It was
7.
worth the $15,000 investment. That was a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, it absolutely was. That's why I say that's the only time in my professional career that I have had a positive investment in myself, was learning NLP. It was the most phenomenal asset that I've probably got in my tool bag that allows me, even today, at this very moment, to communicate with you the way I'm communicating. It really is. It was a very valuable way that I sharpened my own sword.
Well, we're the beneficiaries.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, I'm just giving you the top edge. You're seeing what I'm doing, but you're not knowing how I'm doing it in a lot of cases. When I think about it, and it's conscious, I'll tell you, but there's so much stuff that I do that is just pre-programmed into me to do it. It's like riding a bicycle. You can't tell me what it takes to ride a bicycle. You just know how to do it because of all the muscle memory. It's the same thing. When you learn NLP, they're layering these things on a sliver at a time, and it's going into your subconscious because they're stacking them one on top of another. And at some point, it's not a very long journey. At some point, your brain can no longer focus on so many things. What is it, Jay? 4 or 5 things you can consciously focus on? 3?
7
maybe?
plus or minus 2. Yep.
Okay. So once they layer on the one over that, it's like the first one you learned goes on autopilot. Boom. You'll never have to think about it again. It's just there. It's going to happen just like riding a bike. You'll never have to think about it again. And they're layering on 40, 50, 60, 70 things. Imagine having 70 skill sets, just like riding a bike, you'll never have to think about again. And Jay, you should probably use this as your testimonial and how you're going to sell your shit.
Thank you. I would like that very much, if you don't mind.
Just go pull the recording, Jay.
You've got the script right there.
And it's interesting. It's interesting how you said that. And one of the as we're discussing our avatar for the program, or the avatars, one of the primary avatars is people who go through NLP training and are frustrated because they don't know how to use it. You're one of the few people that actually understand it and actually, I mean, I can count on probably on one hand the people that really get it after taking the brief trainings.
Yeah.
And so to have that level of understanding is also special.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, the level of training that I went through, it wasn't a high level.
No, but the fact that you've taken the training and reprocessed it several times and learned it by doing it, that's the missing link.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so as we're forming this new program, that's one of the things we're going to focus on is look, lot. It's interesting. One of my wife's coaches, when I met her, she says, "Oh yeah, I've taken an NLP practitioner course." I said, "Oh really? Who was your trainer?" And I won't mention names because I don't want to, be that person, but I knew the name of the person that she was talking about. It was a $7 online course where you go through and you watch a bunch of videos. And several of us after I completed my master practitioner training, about half a dozen of us were out to dinner. And at dinner, I got an email about this $7 online practitioner training. So we all downloaded it and finished it during dinner and all got certified during dinner. So
That's awesome.
to say it wasn't necessarily the highest level training one could hope to get was kind of an understatement, but
well, when I went through mine, and like you said, I'm probably one that you could count on your one hand that actually got the benefit of what I invested in. I invested in learning NLP. Yeah. But here's the thing, and this is something very important that you should think about when you go to invest in yourself. It's only an investment in yourself if you need it, learn it, and use it. Yes. And I know myself, if I buy something that I don't have an immediate need for, it's going to not be an investment. It's going to be a donation. I'm just donating to whoever's selling it to me. That's it.
Well said. And the certification has become so oversold.
Yeah. I
You
didn't
know,
give a
'cause-
rat's ass about the certification.
And people who want to learn NLP, by and large, in America, don't care. In Europe, it's a completely different thing. Here in Greece, wow, do they really want that certification? And it is very special if it comes from America. So,
Yeah. That's like,
yeah, Jeff, I worked with Tad James, who was my trainer.
Yeah.
May
Yeah.
he rest in peace.
That's like, and this is something I've learned from my entire life of working with big companies, small companies, companies all over the place. Nobody hired me because of a certificate. Nobody
Exactly.
hired me because of what school I went to. Nobody
It
hired me
is so
because
sold.
of my education level. They hired me because I was a mercenary and I could kill something they wanted dead.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. The archetype works.
I have worked for some of the largest companies on the planet.
Yeah.
With no certificates and no
Mhm.
formal education. They
Exactly.
didn't care. All they cared what I could do.
I have probably, well, I know at one point I needed to prove something to a company that was going to insure me. And I stopped sending at about 28 certificates. And I said, do you need more? They don't mean anything. They're pieces of paper. And what's really worse is the board certifications, but the third party certifications are simply recognition. They have
Yeah.
nothing to do with being certified. They don't say, oh, this person actually knows, because they don't test you. Your
Yeah.
teacher tests you, your instructor tests you. So we're changing the game a little bit and gonna have some fun with it. So that's one of the reasons I want to jump on the call, and one time we'll have to chit chat.
Speaking of NLP, and I've this muscle memory for me has become very powerful to figure out where I got stuff. Remember,
Yeah.
I used timelining to go back and figure out the whole boat story and my dad and all that.
Yeah.
I just figured out where I got the thing that education doesn't mean anything. Again, it came from my father, who was highly educated, who valued education and pushed the shit out of me to get more and more and more. When I was like, oh, hell no, that's just not my fabric.
Right.
But here's where I got it. There was a guy in Huntington Beach back in the 70s that McDonnell Douglas opened a plant. And that was like 95% of the people that lived in Huntington Beach worked there. My dad was one of them. Across the street was a guy, and he was at a higher level than my dad was. He was like in a higher position in the company. He got paid more. And I remember they were having a party at our house, and he was over there, and the subject of, and this was like in the 80s. This was like the late 70s or early 80s, after the big heyday. Aerospace had a heyday. But then it came to cutbacks. And this guy from across the street, he was touting how he didn't have any worries because he had the highest education level available and they were never going to fire him. He would never be part of the layoffs. Well, that dickhead was the first one to go.
Nice.
My dad, of all the people, and all the people that we knew that worked for the company, my father was the only one that did not get laid off, ever. They kept him because of his skill set. He was incredibly valuable. They didn't care that he didn't have the highest level of education. He was beyond smart, brilliant, educated, whatever.
And that's the part that you learned from him, if you don't mind me saying so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's which is reinforcement to what you exactly said. Because when we were doing the modeling program, a couple of years ago, you remember you had that situation at your school that we went through. And it's like, it's like, John's not showing up to class. How's he doing in school? He's smart. He's beating everybody else and he's not showing up to class. So what do we do?
Yeah. So at that point, who cares?
That's powerful reinforcement.
Yeah. Let him go. Let him do his thing. He's just fine.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's interesting how I can use timeline. Just, like right now we're in a conversation. I'm using timeline in the, just because it's muscle memory.
Exactly.
It does.
And it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting next week when you look back on this phone call and you see all the things that you were talking about to everybody then, and it just keeps refreshing in your mind how amazing it really is.
Yeah, it's absolutely effortless.
It's too much fun.
He was pre-framing me there for an hour.
Pre-framing is everything.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly powerful to know, to have your future pre-framed for you can actually make it happen. It's it's like magic.
And we do that when we're delivering a message to someone, you know, and especially perfect with the act idea. What you said is pre-framing. Like if you, the way that I try to teach it, you know, in the persuasion stuff is look, if you know that you want somebody to go a certain way, trains don't have steering wheels. You have to lay the tracks, right? Yep. The metaphor is your customer doesn't know where they need to go. You have to guide them where to go by laying the tracks that they're going to go on. If they run off the rails, where were your tracks weak? What happened? Right. So we have to think 3 steps ahead, lay the tracks for where we want their subconscious mind to go, and then make the journey so pleasant that they want to come again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The the whole pre-framing thing. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was pre-framed at the end of my training, because I was trained for a specific thing. It was to do a stage presentation.
Yes. And that's another thing. You had an outcome in mind that you were already planning for, which is another, having that specific goal helped you catch all that learning and put it in the right place. Exactly.
And that's why I invested in it at the time. I knew I need this. I'm going to use this. It's probably going to be worth the money. That's the time, circling back to close that loop, if you will.
Yep.
That's what I was saying about, if you're going to invest in yourself, invest in something you need right now.
Yes. Something
that you're going to do, you're going to focus on, you're going to take it, you're going to implement it, and you're going to get the value out of it.
Yeah. If you have an outcome in mind, you can, because I can guarantee you, even if without being at your training, every time you did the exercise, you were envisioning yourself using it in that situation that you were planning for.
Yeah. And
visualization is powerful.
At the time, I was doing this presentation with a co-host that was working with me at the time, Kathy, and we both went through the training at the same time. And the final piece of the training for both of us was we were sat down and we were pre-framed. We were told, because he knew that we were both freaking out about being up in front of that many people. And, you know, neither one of us showed it on the outside, but both of us, he knew that this was going to be problematic at some point. And that's why we were there. So he sat us down at the very final thing before he sent us out the door to do that. And he said, look, because when you guys get to Atlanta, he said, it's going to come time. Your time is going to come. And you're going to be standing at the side of the stage, being introduced, getting ready to walk up those stairs and take that stage. And he said, you are not going to believe how excited you are going to be and how much you can't wait to charge up those stairs and just take control of that stage.
Exactly right.
And I'll be damned.
I would not have suggestion.
I would not have believed that in a million years, but I'll be damned. Both of us were standing there and they're talking about us, and we're just like, the energy in both of us, we, took that stage. We owned it. No hesitation. No, nothing. I mean, we just went up, did our thing, walked out the back door with $175,000 in sales.
Pixar, Lucasfilms, they have nothing on the 6 inches between your ears. Best special effects department in the universe.
Yeah. I mean,
that's awesome.
It really is. Being trained to do something, it's just like a carpenter. Whatever level of training and skill you have is going to produce the product on the other end and the value of what that product's going to be worth.
Yeah.
So It doesn't matter if you're doing it in your mind or you're doing it with your hands. You know, there's nothing wrong with carpenters. There's nothing wrong with people at work and build shit. They're awesome. We wouldn't be where we are without them. But you know, it's like Perry says there's two types of people in business. And the one is the hunter and the other is the farmer. The farmer plants the field, grows the crop, harvests the crop, makes things happen. They're the builders. They're the farmers. The hunter is hunting out which farmland is going to produce the most. And it's usually under a village, and he's willing to burn the village down and the piece of land to the farmer so they can have a great outcome.
Yeah. Interesting.
But typically you have to have a hunter and a farmer in a business to make it work. Very few are both. And I know damn well which one I am. I am not a farmer.
Exactly.
You know, a farmer is somebody that can take a nut and put it on a bolt and turn it all day long, every day. If you told me I had to get up and go to a job and do the same shit every day, I might need a necktie, not to look pretty. The only time in my life I would even consider a necktie. But seriously, you need those people. Like, those are my outsourcers. I cannot do that. I can hunt them. I can find them. I can hunt the processes. I can do all that shit. Stuff that's like one time I walk away and benefit for life. That's a hunter. You know, he's a sniper. He's going to sit on top of a mountain and pick something off that needs to be dead 2 miles away. And he's going to make shit happen in an instant. And it's going to, and the result of it's going to last a lifetime. That's a hunter. You know, and he's so right. He goes down all the characteristics of a hunter, and he says usually a hunter won't watch football games. A hunter is not into watching sports. The farmer likes to watch the sports because the farmer wants to be the hunter at a subconscious level. They don't actually want to be. It's just a fantasy. And that's why they'll watch things like that, because they can fantasize themselves into it. They don't really want it in real life. That's why they never go there and get it. But he has a breakdown, like an hour. He'll go through the values and the characteristics of of hunters and farmers. And
yeah, those are really good archetypes.
Yeah, and it's pretty clear which role I play.
And you do it very well.
I try. I do my best. All right. Well, cool. One of the things I'm going to do, I'm going to get those recordings here in probably next week or the week after. There's a couple of them. Like a lot of the stuff I'm not big on social media. A lot of the stuff was geared toward social media. And most of the presenters kind of changed my view on a lot of it. As far as it being valuable, I could never understand the value of some of the social media platforms. I just didn't get it. Not my thing, not my fault. I just didn't get it. You know, some people make money with it. Obviously, after seeing these presentations, there's people making a lot of money with social media platforms. But it's in the way that they're doing it. And again, there was some of them that I thought, out of 8 speakers, I think 3 of them were on my level or on my scope of vision, were incredibly powerful and stuff that I want to focus on. And one of them might be wrapped into another, because Performance Max was top of the list, absolute top of the list. Second down would be YouTube, which Performance Max encompasses. So I might get a 2-for-1 deal there. And then then down the list was, you know, like the way to tie your social media platforms together to just get maximum bang for your buck. And I'm going to go through those videos, and then I'm going to take out, because I got to tell you, a few of the speakers were just horrific. And the stuff, they didn't know how to convey it, which I'm sure was a big part of the problem. But they just did not convey the value to me of doing what they were talking about doing. So those I'm gonna forget about those. I'm gonna forget that ever happened, like a bad dream. And I'm just gonna focus on the stuff that I thought was the max value out of that conference. And I'll probably put a special training together or something, so we can have that value in here. And I'm going to definitely reach out to all my resellers that are running agencies, and I'm going to do a special training for the resellers too, because these skills could really take an agency to a whole new level. I mean, serious, a whole new level of clientele, a whole new level of income, all kinds of massive benefits. So we'll probably do something for you guys as well. So that's what's coming on the road ahead as far as the T part of traffic, the traffic wing, which I'm hoping you guys are in motion getting there. If you're not, there's no time like the present. You've got to do it sometime. You got to get a handle on what you're selling, who you're selling it to, why they want it, what it's going to do for them, what their life is going to look like after they've got it. Make that your goal. Make that your goal for the next month. Even if you don't write it down on paper, just start thinking about it. Seriously, thinking about it. And what you might find, this happens occasionally, is what you got, what you're selling isn't the right thing. And that's okay. Fail fast. Figure it out quick. Don't take 18 months to figure it out. And damn sure don't take the next 10 years. Let's figure it out in a month. Let's just do some mind work. Is it logical? Is it logical that what you have is going to be of value to them and they're going to want it? They're going to have the money to pay for it. That's the whole lesson. And is it a profitable market segment? And if it is, if you look at it and you deem it, okay, this past verification, I got something here. I got something to sell. Next, just move on to who's going to buy it. Who's going to want it? What are they going to want it for? What's it going to do for them? What are they going to get out of it? What's their life going to look like once they've gotten it? Just do that. Just take the next month to do that and get on here and ask me questions. Let me help you do that. And in a month from now, we'll have a different conversation. It'll be much more productive. You'll be in a better place. I can guarantee it. You might not be done, but you'll be at least on the track. So, all right, guys, anything else before we wrap up? Awesome. Well, cool.
Thanks, John. It's been really good.
I am headed for the boat. There's way too many Dorado that have come up our coast, and I'm hearing that they're suicidal, and I need to help with that.
Go, Hunter, go.
Try not to have too much fun out on the boat. And
John, I have a quick, hello, John, I have a quick question before you go. Could you?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm switching over to Kartra from the way that, from the other platform.
Okay.
And I have a VA that I don't think I pre-qualified him correctly, who said he was a Kartra expert. And yet when we're building out the funnels, I've got the links, by the way, to give you to put on the buttons on the website. But the problem is you go through your pop-up, you get to the calendar, you schedule the calendar date, and then calendar takes you to a last page where you get to add it to your calendar and nothing else. And I thought, that's not how a funnel works. I don't know a funnel out there that doesn't go from the scheduling page to your shock and awe or thank you page or welcome page. And it seems like we're having a terrible time. It's got that little bar, progress bar across the top, and the last step is landing on that last page that doesn't do anything. That's got to be wrong. I'm not the first person that wants to go to a shock and awe page from their sign up page.
No, Kartra absolutely has a thank you page on the calendar. You can say which page you want that to be.
Is that in the back end somewhere or something?
Yeah, when you're setting up the calendar inside of Kartra, there's I believe they consider it a thank you page. And you set that. You tell it where you want that to be.
And what happens when they push the button to confirm they're it's got a 4-step progress bar.
The final step with the confirmation is your thank you page.
Well, the final step, so it doesn't go to that 4th round button on the Kartra page, it goes to your thank you page, correct?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what you're seeing exactly, but yeah, it does go to the thank you page, whatever you have designated to that. There's another thing when you're setting up a Kartra calendar is in the integrations. If you integrate with the Google Calendar, it will automatically set up a Google Calendar thing for them and add it to their Google Calendar and yours as well. And the cool thing I love about the integration with the Google Calendar is if you've got stuff that you've set up in Kartra as open dates, it's a pain in the ass to go change those. So let's say I want to go fishing, Friday. All I have to do is go into my Google Calendar, put fishing on Friday for the whole day and put I'm busy. And it will remove it from the Kartra calendar automatically because it sees that time slot is not available.
So the Kartra calendar itself, you can't set, I want to have this time frame for 3 days out, and every 3 days it continues to move out automatically.
You can, but my life is fluid. And I don't want to have to go back in and reconfigure Kartra every time I want a day off, like at a whim. I just want to pull up Google Calendar and boom, I'm done.
Okay, it won't do that with anything else. I am proactively avoiding everything that has to do with Google at this point, except gaming their algorithm since they've blocked me. And they don't support their email. They don't do anything except the only way you can contact anybody at Google is if you're spending money with them. Other than that, they won't talk to you.
Well, here's something. I had the exact same thoughts and feelings and all that. I've been slowly kind of letting go of them over time. And after this last week, after hearing the savant speak on Google and how it all works, you can just kiss any thoughts that your privacy is safe out. You just goodbye. Just kiss it goodbye. It doesn't matter. Use whatever you want on Google. They're not going to know anything more about you than they're going to anyway.
Well, I'm not worried about privacy. I know that died in 2015 with the safe browsing update. What I'm concerned about is the fact that if you have, and only as long as everything is going along perfectly will Google work for you. The minute you have a problem, there is no place, nowhere to get any kind of support. And I don't know anybody that knows Google well enough to say, oh, here's the problem here. And I haven't been able to find anybody that does.
No, I get that. But in products where you really don't need support, like the calendar, it's pretty much going to work for you. And everybody's using it. If you go against the grain there, you're really just fighting the grain.
Okay, John, I reluctantly bow to your experience.
I'm just telling you, I don't like to beat my head against the wall. So if everybody's using Google Calendar and it's not going to be a problem for me, all right. Okay, you've spoken. It's like when my clients tell me they want something, I build it for them. It's why ACT is here. They told me they needed it. It's like why these support calls are here. If I did that first original training and I didn't take the feedback from those customers at the time, I wouldn't have continued these calls. I listen to the community. I listen to what people want. And that's all I do is I just give them what they want. I don't try and give them something they don't want. And I don't try and fight them. Like if they're all using Google Calendar, I'm not going to fight them and make them use something they're not used to, nor do they want to. Just going to go with the flow. Life is much simpler for me by doing that.
I get that, John. Thank you very much. And I think I have one last question. If my senior
have a soft head.
With that, I've forgotten what the other thing was I wanted to ask you about.
I have a very soft head. All right. Well, anything else? Anybody got anything else? Or that's good. I know I'm still cooked from all the information I took in. It's been a long time since I had overload on information. It was really a cool thing. So, but I'm still processing it, and as it processes, I will flow it out to you as quickly as it comes to me.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. That was cool.
Thanks, John.
everybody.
Thanks, John. All the good information. Have fun on the boat.
Have a great week. Great
Go catch them.
Great holiday. Monday's a holiday, so have some fun. I know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be cooking some of what I kill.
Did you fix your calendar for Monday?
Yes, I believe I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I did it with Google. I just went in, put fishing, boom, done.
John likes Google now. Oh my gosh.
Pretty frightening, isn't it?
I know. Pretty
Yes.
frightening.
Boy, the world has come full circle.
Shocking.
But again, it's back to my head is soft. I'm not going to beat it up too hard and too long.
It's just a tool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, have a great week, and we will see you next week.
All right.
Oh,
Happy
sure.
hunting.
Cast
Have
off
a
the
great
line.
weekend.
Take care, John.
Okay.